The opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of either Spectrum Generations or Time Warner Cable. Mature Lifestyle is made possible by Knowlton Hewins Roberts Funeral Homes and Cremation Service. Our homes are warm and welcoming, and we take care of you and your family like we would our own. Call us anytime. We are here for you.
Welcome to Spectrum Generations Mature Lifestyles. We are so excited to be with you on National Volunteers Month, and I have two women who can tell you how it's done. They're trainers, they're volunteers, and they make things happen. No stranger to our show is Jamie Ribisi Braley.
Oh, that's even nicer. Right. Yeah, I like that.
But she coordinates volunteers at Spectrum Generations, and she has a lot to share with us because we all want to volunteer because you make it fun. And then we have Pam Zanderhorst.
Zutenhorst.
Yes. All right. See, she's going to do her own name because I have murdered it, and it's not fair to a lovely lady who's doing so many extraordinary things. She's done volunteerism on her own, but now she's moved to a state agency where she's helping train others. But I think our viewers, and I know I would like to know a little bit more about you. So, Jamie, you're not off the hook just because you've been here before. Tell me a bit about you before you got into coordinating volunteers.
Oh, sure. Well, I've been volunteering all of my life, started with Girl Scouts, and I think that's a great organization to get started in for young women. And just have always just thought it was a nice way to give back to the community, and as I aged is a nice way to put my skills from my life back into the community.
And tell me about some of those skills, because we have skills that we don't even think of as skills that become important to you as your volunteer base, don't they?
Definitely, and it could be anything from knowing a certain craft, which is a really great skill. Maybe you know how to weave, you know how to do certain things, and that can be put into many different organizations to help them with their programming. But we can have, if you're from a nursing background, that's a really great skill. We use that a lot with our Meals on Wheels program and assessors. If you're from a financial background, it's a really, we have different money management programs that we use at Spectrum Generations. And if you have those skills, there's a lot of people that could use your help.
Oh, that's great. And don't underestimate your skills.
No, not at all.
What you might take for granted because you've done it all your life. It's really needed by you. Definitely. And tell me a little bit about you. Were you a volunteer as a young one yourself? You're still young.
Yeah, just a few years ago when I was young. Like Jamie, volunteering was something of my family culture growing up, and I was actually doing it before I knew there was a term for it.
Right.
So
what kinds of things did you enjoy most?
Scouting, actually, back in the day, that was when there was Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, and I wanted to be a Boy Scout and was because that's my family was involved in scouting a lot. And then as I've matured, I've used volunteering as a skill building to lead to different jobs and employment. And when I moved to Maine, that was the way I integrated myself into my new community, was through volunteering.
So it's a good way to meet new people.
Yes.
And where were you before?
I was out on the West Coast, originally born and raised in the Pacific Northwest, and moved to Northern California on the coast.
And you bring those skills and your background for having, probably can do some travel dialogues with you. And so tell me a little bit about your state. You had an organization you worked with, but now you're at the state level. Tell me about that transition and what you do on the state level.
When I was in California, I worked for a volunteer center as a volunteer manager, much like Jamie does for Spectrum Generations, and worked with a RSVP program, which is a national service program. And when I moved to Maine, I was fortunate enough to have an opportunity to work with the Maine Commission for Community Service.
Okay, tell our viewers a little more about what that is. Some might not know we even have such a thing.
Yeah, it is a state agency, but we operate a lot like a nonprofit in that we focus on building capacity and sustainability in the volunteer and service sector. Okay. And we do that by funding programs like AmeriCorps. And
I think people are a little familiar
with that.
Yes.
So we also provide professional development opportunities for professionals like Jamie in volunteer management who want to gain skills to be able to do their job better. And then we also serve as an educator about the sector, issues and challenges that face using volunteers to meet needs here in Maine.
Right. It's a skill, isn't it, to manage volunteers, because you don't want them to be bored or burned out. You want them to feel rewarded for what they do, or you're going to lose your base, aren't
Definitely.
you?
Right.
Yeah, but that's a skill. And so, Jamie, you take courses, if you will.
I do, yeah.
She trains you as well.
There's a lot of different conferences, educational conferences that we go to. There's some webinars and things that are hosted, and it's really great. And like you said, it's a skill for me to learn, but the biggest thing that I've gotten from it, especially recently, is that a really great way to appreciate the volunteers and what they're doing is to recognize their skills so that they're happy in what they're doing.
Exactly.
They're not just there doing something you thought was important to be done.
And I would think the worst thing, and it's my own experience too, is someone shows up and says, I'm here to help. And you say, well, thank you very much. And then you don't tell them or help them see a way they can make a difference. And then they leave frustrated, don't they?
Right.
But that doesn't happen in your organization because you get it. And you're prepared for that and you don't let it happen.
Right.
But is that a skill you teach other people who deal with volunteers?
Yeah, the Maine Commission for Community Service, that's one of the things that we are working with organizations, and we deal more directly with people like Jamie and organizations for them to build their organizational skills.
You're training the trainer.
Yes, exactly. A great example of that is Maine was chosen as a national pilot site for something called Service Enterprise, which is all about helping organizations engage citizens in achieving their social mission.
Well, that's wonderful. Maine was chosen for that.
Yes, one of 14 in the nation. So,
that speaks highly of the dedication of Maine people.
To and the people, and I think also the organizations who want to captivate this human resource and really use it to solve critical issues in the local community.
And so you're partnering with a county, as I understand?
Yes, through the Corporation for National and Community Service, we have a volunteer generation fund that we fund 4 volunteer centers in the state. One of them is based at the United Way of York County, and it is their work doing training nonprofits in York County. They're working with 6 nonprofits to achieve this national certification.
Wow. So that people will know what kinds of nonprofits we're talking about. Name a few of those.
Oh.
The Spectrum Generations is one, for example. We know that they do that, but is there either one of you can give me some ideas?
There are lots of nonprofits in the state.
There really are. We depend on them heavily, don't we?
Yeah, a lot of them, and what we know is most of them have very small budgets.
And
so they
couldn't operate without the volunteers.
Couldn't operate without volunteers providing some of those key services. What we also know, what we've been learning through this service enterprise work, is that organizations don't always fully utilize volunteers to the best of abilities, and the skill-based volunteering.
Helping them expand even more.
Right, to envision how do we, like Spectrum Generations, move beyond just doing the direct service delivery into integrating them into our whole organizational structure. Like Spectrum Generations has been able to do, is recognize when people come with those life experiences or professional skills that you might want to plug them in somewhere else.
And that's what you were talking about with the financial background and the nursing background. So can you tell us any stories about good experiences that you've had with volunteers like that?
Oh, goodness.
Not
I've had a lot.
Not by name, but the kinds of things that people have. We talked about a couple that had been on the show earlier. They had just moved to Maine. They wanted to meet people. They came to you, and you put them right to work doing Meals on Wheels.
Yep.
They loved the participation in your organization.
Right, and him in particular, Bob, he came from a background of organizational skills, so he is my go-to person when I need something. I call him up, and I know that
you take those
that
skills,
I realized that was his
job. He learned that
job.
in the business world. He's retired, but you need those skills, and you're a nonprofit to make the monies that you do have go further in providing the services, right? And any other people that you could, not necessarily by name, but just activities that you find?
Oh, sure. Well, our next guest is Les, and he comes from a computer programming background, and so we'll learn a little about him later, and specifically when he
I think we all
is
need
working
one of
with
those in our homes.
Yeah, I know. definitely, for sure.
Or a hotline.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's, Spectrum Generations and Jamie do that very well, of people when they come in and recognizing that they have a certain set of skills. And really sometimes for some people that's the best way to recognize them and thank them, is by the organization saying, we trust you and we're going to give you more to do, more responsibility. So in thinking about appreciating volunteers, think about it, it's not always the big party. It's always sometimes as simple as saying thank you and I have more things for you to do. And other times for some people, they like the social aspects. So
and sometimes that can come as early as when you're interviewing them, as they say, oh, I'm interested in this volunteer position that you have. And
so
I'll learn about their skills.
Do you advertise a volunteer position, for example, at Spectrum Generations? Is it on a web page, or how do you let people know?
All over the place. We do.
At your
we
centers.
do it. We have it on our website.
And at
our centers, there's all different flyers, and we have a volunteer liaison at each center.
So what openings are there now if we want to apply?
Oh my goodness, there's a lot.
Just one.
Sure.
One
well,
or two.
Sure. Well, we have our aging and disability resource specialists. They need some assistance to help them in their program, and so even it can be as simple as maybe you've had skills on the telephone. That would be really helpful for us. If you're a great public speaker, we can definitely put those skills to use in our different programs.
I'm glad you talked about that. I had no idea there were so many opportunities, frankly, and that you advertise for volunteer positions. And if you needed help with training, you have a place to go.
Definitely, yes.
And also there's volunteermaine.org, which is a statewide website. It's a one-stop shop for people who want to connect with volunteer opportunities or organizations looking for volunteers. So
I think you've found the secret to staying young and vibrant and active. I mean, look at the two of you. You love what you're doing as a parent. And it seems to me the people that I've met who've worked with you, and I haven't had a chance to meet yours yet, but I'm so glad you were here with us today. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with more opportunities to volunteer.
Spectrum Generations. Live healthy. Live well. Get answers. Get connected. Spectrum Generations, specializing in the art of aging.
Excuse me, begging your indulgence, sir. I'm a wealthy foreign dignitary, and I would like your help moving a vast sum of money into this country. I would let you keep most of it, but I would like to have some of it back, too. Please, take this certified cashier's check as a portion of the transaction.
Get lost. Scams like these don't work as well in person. That's why most of them are done online.
Want great green grass all year round with less mowing and practically no watering or fertilizing? Now you can with Grassology. Unlike regular grass that require constant water and fertilizer, Grassology's roots grow 4 times deeper than ordinary grass to reach underground water and nutrients. And Grassology slowly reaches a dwarf height, so there's a lot less mowing, guaranteed. If you've got bare patches, bald spots or brown spots caused by pets, use Grassology. This lawn hasn't been mowed in months. Check out the Grassology difference after a harsh drought. Call or go online now and get £1 of Grassology for just $14.99. But if you call right now, you can double the order to £2. Plus, you can also get a 25-foot Pocket Hose Ultra, now 3 times stronger. Grassology for $14.99. Call now.
Call 1-800-806-1946, and today you can get a special double offer of Grassology and the Pocket Hose Ultra, so call 1-800-806-1946. Call now.
Welcome back to Mature Lifestyles. Spectrum Generations loves to bring programs where you can live, laugh, and learn, and today is no exception. We've been talking about opportunities to volunteer, not just with us, but statewide. And Jamie, who is a regular on the show, knows just how to give you those opportunities. But we have a volunteer himself, but he's very specialized. He's a computer programmer, which must be in great demand, and his name is Les LeBlanc. Am I right about being a programmer?
Well, I'm not a computer programmer anymore.
Okay, but you were.
I retired from the Navy and went back to school. I was a programmer for Washington Mutual Bank in Seattle, and I moved back to Maine in 2005, and I worked in DHHS in Maine for technology for a couple of years. And
you
so
like challenges.
Right. Yeah, that was
Navy, a bank, and DHHS.
It was really awesome learning experiences, and now that I'm doing the computer work volunteering, there's a lot of experience that I call upon to solve problems for people, and it's helped out a lot.
Well, tell me a little bit about you. You're retired. You're pretty young to be retired, but
yes, I am.
You're retired.
Yes.
And then you wanted to do some volunteer work after you retired. Is that what happened?
Yes, I started with Meals on Wheels, and Linda asked me to teach a computer class. So I taught a computer class, and they agreed when I decided that one-on-one was better than a full class, because what I found was people don't really ask the questions that they want to ask.
Right, because we're so individual, isn't it?
Right. They're embarrassed or whatever.
Of course. So, Jamie, you must have been so excited when you found him.
Oh, yes.
Tell me a little bit about that moment.
Well, Linda Johnson, she's our volunteer liaison at our Cohen Community Center in Hallowell, and her, as well as Maggie, who's our center director there, really saw those skills in him. So even though he came in doing Meals on Wheels, which is definitely a skill in its own, saw what he was interested in, what his background was, and what their needs were in the center, and really scooped him right up. I won't let him go.
I don't blame you.
Which is wonderful.
Well, so do you still do Meals on Wheels, or are
Yes.
you do both? Okay, but this must be very demanding. Tell me how you help people. You teach a class, but one-on-one, I think.
Right, and what it is whenever people sign up, I teach 2 people on Wednesdays in the Cohen Center, and I call them a couple days before, find out what kind of computer they have, can they bring it, what issues are they having. So sometimes it's teaching them something that they want to learn, like even if it's just using email, or they have an issue with their computer and don't know how to fix it.
Exactly.
And for $10 for an hour and a half, we usually get it done, and you can't beat it for the So
Jamie, so do you have to? How do you get his wonderful volunteer services? If you're out in the community and you're senior and you are interested in having someone help you through some pretty complicated things to you, how do they get in touch with this wonderful?
Sure. Well,